What's up, everyone? Chase Owens here, Bullet Club member, and you are watching the IHJW Wrestling Podcast with Nelson, Craig, and Keysh. And I promise you, it's going to be just too sweet.
Welcome, guys, to another IHJW Wrestling Podcast with Keysh here on November 23rd, 2020 review of Monday Night Raw, the Raw after Survivor Series. I would say this was not the greatest Raw. It fully feels like they fully planned this out. Super last minute, and you'll see why when it goes through the story. First, we get the opening of Raw with the Raw men's team, who actually went 5-0 against the SmackDown men's team. And Adam Pearce is with those 5 men. He's asking all 5 men to pick their case to become number 1 contender for Drew McIntyre's title, because they all deserve it. A reward for going 5-0 with their dominating win. AJ makes his point that Sheamus makes his point that AJ's not the captain, and of course, congratulates Drew on winning the title, and that he was MVP of the Survivor Series match. AJ says Sheamus is trying to get the good old boy rub and trying to get that shot with his best friend Drew McIntyre, and that the MVP of Raw's team should be the captain of Raw's team, which was AJ Styles. He says, "Well, I saved AJ from becoming eliminated and pinned Raw's captain Jey Uso." Riddle makes a weird statement. Riddle's Riddle. He says he wants to face Drew McIntyre. He wants to be WWE Championship, and he actually says championship. He wants to be the championship. But he beat Corbin. He should he be known as King Bro? And if he does beat Drew, does he get the sword? And does he get Corbin's crown? Riddle's weird. Riddle's weird. Here's the weirdest part, is that Adam Pearce says, last but not least, Braun Strowman takes that to offense for some odd reason, starts yelling at Pearce, headbutts him, and commercial. So I'm like, really? I'm just happy Raw opened with a 8-minute segment, not a 20-minute segment, but that was just weird. We get a New Day versus Hurt Business for the tag team titles, and this was because as Kofi and Xavier were just chilling backstage, the Hurt Business come up and they basically taunt Xavier and Kofi for losing against the Street Profits, and that the only reason why they lost is because they were playing dress up, and because they New Day dressed in their Gears of War costumes, Gears of War 3 costumes, which they're going to be DLC, I believe DLC characters. Really cool costumes. You can actually go check that out, as well as see their outfits during Survivor Series. Really cool. Cedric Alexander gets in Xavier Woods' face, saying, "We want to face them," and he just starts egging them on that. The titles are missing. Benjamin starts saying the titles be prestige like Benjamin, like them, and they would have won against the Street Profits basically. And so Xavier just takes that out of defense and gives him a match. And the funny thing is, Kofi says it's their day off, and all of the Hurt Business says champions don't have days off. And Xavier Woods gives him the title shot. And during the whole conversation, Bobby Lashley was touching Kofi's belt, and it's really funny. It's really cool. They didn't have as good a match as they did for the titles the first time around, but we'll see. We get the match. The match was pretty standard for WWE matches. Kofi gets a hot tag. Cedric pulls Kofi from the top rope down to the floor. It looked really rough, but then both him and Shelton Benjamin get counted out. So Kofi and Shelton Benjamin get counted out, and it's a double countout. But the referee says, "Well, Hurt Business wins," because Benjamin was barely in the ring at 10. So MVP gets in the mic saying, and he actually begs, he doesn't beg. He tells the referee he should restart the match, telling him to restart the match. Then he starts egging on Kofi and Xavier. So you don't want to lose like that. You don't want to match like that. You're a champion. Let's go finish this. Let's get, let's finish this like real men. And Kofi, as Xavier is like trying to leave, he's like, give us our belts, give us our belts. Kofi says to Xavier, I'm getting tired of these fools. So they come back, they restart the match. So the beginning of the restarts, Kofi gets, So Benjamin backdrops Kofi to the outside, lands on his feet, and kayfabe messes up his left leg. MVP encourages Benjamin and Cedric to make sure that at the end of this match, Kofi needs surgery after the match, which is pretty rough. The end of the match was kind of weird. I wouldn't say this doesn't make the Hurt Business look strong, because Kofi with a bag leg just basically launches himself he trampolines himself off the top rope from his mid body onto Cedric, and while Benjamin was trying to do a powerbomb of some sorts, Xavier Woods goes over him, rolls him up 1, 2, 3, and it was really weird. I didn't think it would end like this. I thought the New Day would get like a sneaky win. This is, I guess you can call it a sneaky win. They barely won, but 2 matches. Hurt Business gets a count out win, and the New Day gets a definitive 1, 2, 3 win. I don't know. I really don't know how to feel about this, because they were doing good work, and it's just really odd to see it end like this. So hopefully they do get a full match, and if anything, I want to see someone else. Maybe Cedric. Maybe we need MVP win Cedric, just to get the full, full veteran and young guy feel, like Ric Flair and Batista when they first were doing their thing. Even though that's a really odd comparison. Adam Pearce comes out of the trainer's room. He has a big bruise on his head. He says that Braun was escorted out of the arena. That's really odd, but he was literally told to leave, and he actually left. So Braun was nowhere to be seen the rest of the night, and says that if he was in charge, that he would have fired Braun right then and there. But that was it. He said, Adam Pearce says all the men made the claim to the case, while Bobby comes out of nowhere, says, I'm the only champion to win last night in Survivor Series on the Raw. I think we need to have a talk. And it goes to commercial. After commercial, Pearce comes back, and Pearce is taking consideration of what Bobby said, and Randy Orton pops into the mold, into the frame, and now they have a conversation. Lana gets interviewed, thinking she's shocked. She's on top of the world. She's not about getting a title shot right now. That's not her deal. She's trying to enjoy the moment, which is she deserves. Like, after going through a table for almost a month and a half, or 2 months and a half. It's well deserved. At the end of that segment, Adam Pearce decides that there's going to be 3 singles matches, and those winners of those 3 matches will face in a triple threat match next week to face Drew for the World's Heavyweight title. And so I don't know if it's going to be at TLC, because they just announced TLC, but we'll see what goes. And the first match he set was Riddle versus Sheamus. One odd thing is that I just noticed this. They always do a slow-mo of Riddle kicking off his slippers when he does his entrance. I still don't get that. It's a cool thing that he does it, but I don't need to see it in slow motion. I really don't. It is a good match. It's a standard Sheamus match. We know Sheamus has good matches. I've never seen a 5-star Sheamus match, but there have always been solid Sheamus matches. Honestly, this is a 3-ish. But basically, the big spot was Sheamus hits a second rope white noise, sets up Riddle for a bro kick. Instead of hitting Riddle just collapses before even Sheamus starts to run. So instead of that, Sheamus just goes to the cloverleaf to finish Riddle off. Riddle's able to counter the cloverleaf, roll up Sheamus for the win, and it was a good match. A standard Sheamus match. It was a Sheamus match, and that's about it. You have Lana walking down the hallway. Asuka's just standing right there, and Asuka is so excited and says, she asks Lana, "You want to challenge me?" And Lana says, "No, like that was a misunderstanding. I want to enjoy the moment." And Asuka says, "I like challenges. I accept. And you never know. You may go home as a champion." And Lana is eager and willing and happy because she thinks this is my favorite shot, and she deserves to have that thought because she did become the sole survivors yesterday, and I predicted that. Yes, all right. We have Firefly Funhouse, of course, and they talk about the most evil world ever, which is friendship. Bray talks about having you have a friend one moment who got your back and will do anything for you, then he's burning down something. Then we see flashbacks of Randy Orton burning down the compound, and little preview of what happens later tonight. Out of nowhere, the friendship frog pops in, and he talks about how friendship should last forever, and that Alexa shouldn't give up Nikki Cross because that's a friend that you should have forever. Alexa then Ray says, "Alexa, why don't you show the frog what you're gonna do to Nikki today?" So she has, I don't know, it's like the cross or whatever Randy was using from Bray's and Randy's feud from I think 2 or 3 years ago, and she basically kills the frog, and that's it. Oh, she does the eye change thing, and that's it. After she kills the frog, there's a montage of the frog from of his birth to his death, and it's really, really, really random. But that's about it. So I don't know. It's not one of the best Firefly Funhouses. I'm only laughing because the frog montage after hindsight, just like thinking about it, it goes from like a tadpole to him graduating high school and his high school senior picture. I was like, this is stupid. This is completely stupid. Then we got Asuka versus Lana, the title match. As the ref is about to ring the bell, Nia and Baszler come out. And basically, Lana gets a little bit of offense on Asuka. She is able to knock Asuka out of the ring. Nia and Baszler actually make fun of Asuka for not being able to take out Lana like in an instant. And as they were taunting Asuka gets a water bottle, pours water over both of them. And they attack Asuka. And Lana saves Asuka from going through the table. So, thankfully, no one went through the announce table today. And after commercial, we have Alana and Asuka versus Baszler and Nia. Alana gets isolated a lot. Like basically, she's isolated 90% of the match. And that is 90% of the match. 90% of the match. I wrote this that Lana had like a good amount of offense against Asuka, but she can't muster any offense against Nia or Baszler. Really, really weird. So Lana was trying to tag in. Asuka was after a hot tag. Asuka goes off on everyone, and Lana. So Lana's out on the outside. Asuka takes out Nia, takes out Baszler, but Baszler gets a little bit best of Asuka. So Lana's trying to get a tag back in. As Asuka was trying to tag Lana in, Nia pulls Lana off the ropes. She tries to set up Lana for going through the table the 10th time, but it didn't work this time. Lana gets out. Nia launches herself over the announce table, and she watches in amusement as Nia is like in pain over the announce table. As well, while Shayna Baszler is right behind her on the apron, she reaches down and starts choking Lana in her clutch. Then, without Shayna noticing, Asuka rolls up Shayna for a 1-2-3. So they both win. Lana and Asuka win. It's not the greatest match. I know Lana is, she's not as decorated as Shayna is, but they're building up Lana. I don't know for what now. I thought this would be it, but let's see what happens. If Lana and Asuka become tag team champions, I won't mind it, but whatever. So the funniest segment on Raw is that. So Matt Riddle runs in the MVP, and Riddle's looking for Lashley. He wants to wish him luck, and he wants to, give him a heads up, like, hey, Bobby, Keith Lee's no slouch himself, so there's gonna be a lot of work for both of them to do. Then Riddle starts pitching ideas to MVP. He said, I have a lot of ideas, and one of the funny ideas is that everyone loves pizza and everyone loves yogurt. So you know what? Why don't we make pizza flavored yogurt? Then he goes on this, and I try to rewind it twice, and he says, "Oh yeah, or we can do some protes." And I said he said some protes with some yogurt, and he said it's gonna be called Progurt. So but I thought I thought it was trying to be like Brogurt, but Progurt, it's I don't know, it's pretty weird. So MVP stops him. We get the stupidest thing in the world. He's like, "Yo, I'm not your bro," and you hear Riddle go, "Aw." MVP pauses for a second. Then he tells Riddle, "Get a couple ideas. We'll see. We'll listen to him a few weeks from now, and if we like it, we'll do business. If we don't, we do business." And MVP walks out in commercial break. And we get Keith Lee and Bobby Lashley. This match should have had a clean finish. This match, hopefully, is going to be a TLC match in the pay-per-view in TLC, because these two were rocking it. Lashley actually gets Lee on his shoulders and throws him into the pole, where he kind of like nudge him over his head onto the corner and the outside. It was pretty dope. There's a point where Lashley was getting a pin, and the referee just stops and doesn't count the pin, but referee sees that Lashley's busted open, and MVP went furious. It was like, he's literally yelling at the ref, "Do your job, what are you doing?" And he's like, "I am doing my job." And he's pointing at Lashley's head. And I was like, what the hell's going on? There's a point where Lashley was leapfrogging over Keith Lee. Then Keith Lee leapfrog over Lashley, and it was like, dude, these guys can go, and it's pretty dope. Lee gets a pounce, knocking Lashley to the outside, and basically Keith Lee does a crossbody onto Lashley on the outside. Lashley tries to get the hurt lock on Keith Lee. He couldn't, so he just goes straight to a sleeper on Keith Lee's back. Keith Lee gets up, falls backwards, and right then and there, MVP out of nowhere gets in the ring and starts beating up Lee. And I'm totally confused on why. It didn't look... So on the commentary, they were saying, well, MVP knew that his client was about to lose. And I was like, that makes no sense. It's just... whatever. And Lee wins by DQ. And I think this is like the 5th or 6th or 7th DQ win that Lee has. I wish I had a clean finish. I really do. I really, really wish I had a clean finish. I really hope they get a full match. They deserve a full match. These two can work. And, if... I know they pushed Keith Lee to be a world champion instantly when he beat Randy Orton the first night. Let's build him properly. Let's make him U.S. champion. The belt will look good on him. He was North American champion in NXT. It would be cool for him to have a mid-card title. Hopefully down the line he'll get the ITC championship, and 3 years from now he'll be WWE champion. Great music. I think I didn't say that yesterday with the Survivor Series. Keith Lee does have a new music, and he's on it. He's doing all the vocals, freaking dope. Or doing all the rapping, freaking dope. We get a video package of Alexa Bliss's and Nikki Cross's friendship, and how it turned from really good friends winning tag team championship to Alexa just turning on her. Nikki says she didn't give up on Alexa. Alexa gave up on her, and she's done trying to save her. Now all she wants to do is beat the Fiend out of Bliss. At the end of that interview, we get new Nikki Cross music. Pretty cool. Very country. I was not expecting that. Not expecting that, but we'll see how that goes from there. Beginning of the match, Alexa Bliss was trying to play that hand slap game where you have your hands on the up and under the like you have your hands up like this. Then someone has your hands like this, and you're supposed to slap them. And Alexa Bliss hits her. It says, "I win." She just taunts her for most of the match, runs around the ring. Uh, every time Nikki gets offense, and she got a lot of offense, and they made Nikki basically beat up Alexa the whole match. And Alexa would just laugh. And there's a point where it seemed like Alexa was popping back into Alexa, not who she is in the Firefly Funhouse, and she's like looking around. She's like, "Where am I? What are you doing?" And she's asking Nikki to stop, and she's crying. It's like, "I don't know what's happening. Please help me. Can you help me?" And as Nikki is like, as Alexa has her hand out, Nikki puts her hand out, picks up Alexa, helps Alexa up. Then they start hugging, and it's like one of those. All right, here, what's gonna happen? As Alexa was being hugged, as Nikki was hugging Alexa, Alexa hits a modified Sister Abigail for 1, 2, 3, and she does this like hands under her chin pose as she pins her, and that's it. That's it. I don't know what's gonna go from here. They both can go. This is an odd thing for Alexa because she's always been like a high flyer and methodical. Now she's just like messing around and not getting too much offense in. She wins by random acts of like emotion. But I don't know where they're gonna go. Hopefully they do have a match, but hopefully it ends hopefully next week or 2 weeks from now. I want them both to be separated. Maybe send Nikki to SmackDown so we can send someone else from SmackDown to Raw because Raw doesn't have enough women, to be honest, to push the roster against Asuka. But we'll see. Then we get the AJ versus Randy match for the last spot in the triple threat. We already know that Riddle won and Keith Lee won, so this will be the last spot. AJ, so there's a funny spot where Randy throws AJ into Omos. Omos catches AJ, and Randy's looking at both of them. And Randy's just like, alright. Oh no, Randy throws AJ into Omos, and Randy just not looking at them. AJ's like looking up, like, what the hell's happening? Almost throws AJ on top of the apron and kicks Randy in the head. Then AJ delivers a backdrop on Randy on the announce table. AJ goes after Randy Orton's left leg for a good majority of the match, and it showed a very, very, very typical technical wrestler going after a weakness of a dominant wrestler in Randy Orton. As Orton was able to counter or go outside to get away from AJ, Orton was able to trip AJ, and AJ rolled back to the ring. Orton's laying on the barricade, and the Fiend's music starts, and the Fiend appears. He ducks away, he runs away, and Orton's looking for him. AJ gets the upper hand as Orton's coming back into the ring. He goes for a phenomenal forearm. Randy counters, and he gets the DDT. Randy sets up for the RKO. The theme music, lights go out. The theme music plays. Randy Orton's in the corner. The Fiend appears behind him. Like I think when Keith Lee and Finn Balor were doing that thing where Finn Balor's like setting up and Keith Lee just pops out of nowhere, rising up like this. He freaks out Randy Orton. Then the lights go out. Orton's like looking around for the Fiend, AJ hits a phenomenal forearm. 1, 2, 3. And AJ, Keith Lee, and Riddle are facing each other for the number 1 contender for Drew McIntyre championship. This round was weird. It was really weird, like how it started, and then they came up with the 3 singles match to lead up to the triple threat match. It really felt like they didn't know what to do. But you got one good match between the Hurt Business and New Day, and it seems like I've said that for the last 6 weeks. But it's worth it. They do really well. You got like a non-finished match between Keith Lee and Bobby Lashley. Hoping that goes somewhere down the line. And like Sheamus is really good. It's just is Sheamus. It's super entertaining, but it's a good person. If you're gonna put Riddle with somebody, put him with Sheamus. It's not too bad. It's watchable. Then you got AJ versus Orton, but that was like only 10 minutes. I think all three matches. So Sheamus and Riddle must have been more than 10 minutes. It felt like more than 10 minutes. AJ versus Orton felt like so short. That should have been so much longer. So I fully believe there were some missed opportunities in this Raw. From this Raw, really over the top. And with the women, I let's see how long this Lana story goes. I'm happy she got her moment in Survivor Series. From here, I have no clue where they will go from here. But that's about it, guys. I would say just watch those three matches if you're gonna look back on this and say, let me just watch. Let me look up the YouTube videos of these three matches, or if you have DVR of it, just look for those three matches. It's one in the beginning, one in the second hour, one in the last hour, and that's it. One good match an hour. Not enough. Still not enough. Asuka's still doing great, but we'll see where this goes. We're on our way to TLC, and hopefully after that, it's the Royal Rumble. But I hope you guys have a wonderful Thanksgiving. This is another episode of IHJW Wrestling Podcast. Keysh here. And you guys have a wonderful day, night, or evening, whenever you listen to this. Just be safe.